There's this live that's going viral right now by the lady who used to play Blossom when she was younger. First name is Mayim. Her last name, I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not going to try to pronounce. I watched this live with an open mind because I know she's on the left. When I listened to all of it, I've got to be honest, I'm glad she's coming to some realizations about how far left activist organizations have been really radicalized to some insane belief systems, but there are some things I've just got to call BS on. So let's start by watching this video of her.
There has not been an experience in my lifetime that has prepared me for this. I have heard from many people my whole life that anti-Semitism is growing, that the Holocaust, while we say we will never forget, many have forgotten, and the swiftness with which the global population has seized upon the massacre of Jewish civilians living inside of a border, the swiftness with which the world has stepped up to redefine terrorism, to redefine statehood, to redefine the right of a people to exist. Nothing has prepared me or any of us for this.
That's just not accurate. Got to call BS on this. She says nothing could have prepared her for this. That is pretending that no warning signs existed, and I'm sorry, but they did exist with these far left groups. She's specifically perturbed by the fact that far left groups are aligning themselves with Hamas and celebrating what they did to Israel. Now, let's take a look, though, at her own history, just to get a clear understanding of where she has been before she got to this moment. Okay, so this is somebody who posted Black Lives Matter hashtags on her pages. And you might say, hey, posting a hashtag does not mean she supported the Black Lives Matter organization, which is explicitly Marxist. But she did. There's articles showing which celebrities donated to Black Lives Matter. US Magazine was listing celebrities who donated to bail out protesters amid the Black Lives Matter movement. She's listed here. It specifically names one of the things she donated to was Kentucky's Community Bail Fund to help those arrested in recent protests. But here's the thing, that bail fund goes to a lot of people. This is part of a far-left organization run through a bunch of people who are part of the BLM movement and organization. When you take a look at what this org actually is and what they do, you can see this recent story where a judge forfeited the community bail group's $100,000 bond after a violent offender was arrested again. Not only that, you may have also seen them in the news for this. They helped bail out a far-left activist who was charged with attempted murder of a Louisville mayoral candidate named Craig Greenberg. That bail fund is well known for getting people out of prison who have been involved in very violent crimes. That's who she donated to. But yet she's saying there was no sign here these groups were going to do something crazy like support Hamas. I'm sorry, but if you're supporting murderers and violent offenders, that to me seems like an indication that something crazy might happen in the future. If you were to say, maybe she didn't know they're Marxist, well, here's the deal. They were very explicit about it. Patrice Cullors, one of the founders of BLM, said herself in an interview that's been all over the world, "We are trained Marxists."
The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
They ignored the obvious signs that there was a problem, and she talks again in a second video about changing language and how they've changed all this language and perceptions, and I'll play that video in a second, but I want to make something very clear. She says she had no indication that this change would come forward in this way, but here's the thing. She supported an organization that explicitly changes language on a regular basis to further their Marxist goals, such as Latinx. Latinos like myself never asked to be called Latinx, but they push this across every form of media to force the word or phrase Latinx down everybody's throat. When no one wanted to be called it, in every poll where Latino people have been polled about this, they all prefer to be called Latino or Hispanic. Less than 2% were okay with ever being referred to as Latinx, and the majority consider it a slur. But this is what they were pushing because changing language is core to the ideology of Marxism, because they need chaos, and degenderizing a society that is gendered, it brings chaos. It's just one piece of breaking down identity.
The notion that this is a comeuppance for the Jewish people, that's what you get. What did you think decolonialism would look like? I did not think it looked like decapitated babies and disemboweled humans and raped women being paraded around the streets while thousands cheer. And I didn't think it looked like tens of thousands of people marching in solidarity with the actions of a terrorist organization whose sole purpose is to eliminate not the Jewish state, but the Jewish people.
And then she goes on to talk about colonialism. She says she didn't know that this was their sort of belief system when it came to decolonizing. Well, what did she think was going to happen when the BLM people were tearing down statues of Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt? What did she think the next natural step was when a group of protesters said they're planning to topple a statue of Abraham Lincoln in the Capitol meant to commemorate his 1863 proclamation freeing enslaved people? And why was that in itself not worthy of concern to someone like her to say, you know what, maybe this has gone too far. You know what, there are some serious systemic issues with these leftist groups. I need to dissociate, and I need to tell the people who follow me that this is not good for the health of our world or our country. Everything about what the left is doing right this moment supporting Hamas was predictable. If you were paying attention, this was predictable and it was preventable. And I'm glad she's coming to terms with this. I'm glad she's having these realizations, but please also admit these signs were there. You just ignored them.